Ever wonder why vampires in Twilight sparkle instead of, combust in the sunlight like traditional vampires? It's like someone looked at a disco ball and thought, yes, that's what a vampire should look like in the sun. The Twilight series isn't your grandpa's vampire tale, that's for sure. With a unique twist on vampire mythology, it became a global phenomenon that took the early 21st century by storm. We're talking about a saga that gave us glittering vampires, werewolf love triangles, and more teenage angst than a high school prom. It's a series that has inspired countless memes, parodies, and even its own fan-fiction spin-offs. Love it or hate it, you can't deny Twilight's impact on pop culture. So, buckle up folks, we're about to dive into 10 hilarious and surprising facts about this, fangtastic movie. Hold on to your garlic and wooden stakes, we're going in. Starting with number 10, the sparkling vampires. Who needs garlic when you have a disco ball, right? Now, Twilight took a rather unique approach to vampire lore. Traditionally, vampires are known to combust or turn into a pile of ash when exposed to sunlight, but Twilight? Nah, they said, let's make our vampires sparkle like a diamond. This certainly brought a new glittering perspective to the vampire genre. Instead of fearing the sun, Twilight vampires turned into walking, talking disco balls. They could light up any room, literally. Critics and fans alike had mixed reactions to this. Some thought it was a fresh, unique twist, while others, well, let's just say they missed the good old ashy vampires. But hey, it wasn't all bad. The sparkling effect gave a whole new definition to the phrase, shine bright like a diamond. So, next time you're at a party and they're out of disco balls, just invite a Twilight vampire. At number 9, we have the speed of the film. And no, I'm not talking about vampire speed. Now, when we say fast, we're not referring to how quickly Edward can run through a forest, or how swiftly Bella can fall in love with a sparkling vampire. We're talking about how rapidly the first Twilight movie was shot and put together. Picture this, folks. The team had only 44 days to film the entire movie. Yes, you heard it right, 44 days. That's less time than it takes most of us to decide what to watch on Netflix, and it doesn't stop there. After the shooting wrapped up, the post-production team had to race against the clock to get the film ready for its release date. It's like the entire crew was on a vampire diet of coffee and midnight oil. I guess when you're dealing with vampires, you have to move at vampire speed. Who knew vampires and film crews shared the same need for speed? Coming in at number 8, we've got the hair-raising issue of wigs. Now, you'd think that in a movie about supernatural beings with perfect hair, the wigs would be top-notch, right? Well, not exactly. Our star-crossed lovers, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, had a bit of a hairy situation on their hands, or should we say, heads. Kristen had to wear a wig for the later Twilight movies because she'd chopped off her hair for another role. The result? A wig that looked a little too perfect for a supposed high school student. As for Robert, well, his hairdo was a whole other saga. The producers decided to change his hair in the second movie, leading to an awkward wig phase that fans lovingly refer to as the helmet hair era. So if you ever thought their hair looked a bit off, now you know why. For number 7, let's bite into the apple symbolism. Now you guys remember the iconic Twilight book cover, right? The one with the hands holding the apple? Well, that's not just a cool cover design, my friends, it's symbolism. The apple represents the forbidden fruit from the Bible, hinting at Bella and Edward's forbidden love. It's deep, it's profound, it's Twilight. But the movie took this apple symbolism and ran with it. Remember the scene in the cafeteria when Edward stops an apple with his foot and it flies up into his hands? That's a direct nod to the book cover. Talk about bringing a book to life, am I right? And speaking of life, did you know that the apple also symbolizes the choice between mortality and immortality? Yeah, Twilight's got layers, folks, and here I thought apples only symbolized Dr. Avoidance. At number 6, imagine Twilight with a completely different cast. Yes, you heard it right. The iconic roles of Edward and Bella could have been played by other actors. Picture this. A brooding, sparkling vampire not played by Robert Pattinson, but by Henry Cavill. Yes, the Superman himself was author Stephenie Meyer's first choice for Edward Cullen, but alas, by the time the movie was in production, Cavill was considered too old for the part. And let's not forget about Bella. Before Kristen Stewart was cast, Emily Browning was the top choice for Bella Swan. However, Browning decided not to audition, leaving the door open for Stewart to step in. So there you have it, folks. A universe where Superman is a vampire and a sucker punch star is a clumsy high school girl hopelessly in love with him. I guess it's hard to imagine anyone else trying to act serious while sparkling. For number 5, let's step into the Cullins House. This isn't just any house, it's a modern architectural marvel that's become a tourist hotspot. But don't be fooled by the fiction. This isn't in the deep woods of Forks, Washington. No, this house exists in the real world in Portland, Oregon. The house, known as the Hoke House, was designed by architect Jeff Covell of Skylab Architecture. It's a stunning 4,000 square feet of pure luxury, but sorry Twilight fans, it's not open for public tours. However, the exterior is quite a sight to behold, and it has become a popular drive-by spot for fans of the franchise. So, if you're ever in Portland, you might want to take a detour and check it out. But a word of caution folks, when visiting, be respectful of the private property. And just remember, no garlic or wooden stakes if you visit. At number 4, we have the unexpected hit. Now let's talk about how Twilight bamboozled everyone with its success. Picture this: a low-budget flick, a young and relatively unknown cast, and a storyline that's, let's be honest, a tad out of left field. It was like the little movie that could. The film was produced on a shoestring budget, yet it managed to rake in a whopping $393 million worldwide. That's a lot of popcorn and soda. And let's not forget about the cast. Before Twilight, who knew who Robert Pattinson or Kristen Stewart were? But now, they're household names. The film's success was a complete curveball, blindsiding even the most seasoned Hollywood insiders. And yet it became a cultural phenomenon, spawning 4 sequels and a legion of die-hard fans. So there you have it, folks. The unexpected hit that was Twilight. Who knew so many people loved glittery vampires? Coming in at number 3, the author makes an appearance. Yes, you heard it right. Stephenie Meyer, the genius behind the Twilight saga, couldn't resist the allure of her own creation and decided to pop in for a visit on the big screen. Now if you blinked, you might have missed her, but she's there folks, in the diner scene. She's the one enjoying a meal while our star-crossed lovers have their first date. So, what did Meyer think of her brief moment in the spotlight? In her own words, she found it extremely uncomfortable, but hey, no pain, no gain, right? And it seems she was quite satisfied with the adaptation of her brainchild, praising the film for its exciting and intense depiction of her story. And who can blame her? Her books have sparked a global phenomenon after all. I guess when you create a world, you'd want to live in it too. At number 2, we have the unforgettable vampire baseball. Picture this, a group of immortal beings with superhuman strength and speed deciding to play America's favorite pastime. It's like the Avengers decided to become the Yankees for a day. This iconic scene was not only a cinematic spectacle but also a bonding experience for our beloved Cullen family. It was a grand display of vampiric abilities, all set to the beat of Muse's supermassive black hole. Now that's what I call playing ball with style. And the reactions it garnered? Well, let's just say that it was a home run in the amusement park of absurdity. Fans were thrilled, critics were baffled, and everyone else was just trying to figure out the rules. And who can forget that this was the game that brought the bad vampires to town? Talk about a plot twist. Vampires playing baseball, now there's a sports league I'd watch. And finally, at number 1, the biggest surprise. It's time to reveal it. Just when you thought we'd run out of Twilight surprises, hold on to your garlic because here it comes. You know that scene in New Moon where Bella jumps off the cliff? Well, it turns out Kristen Stewart did her own stunts. That's right, folks. Our Bella isn't just a damsel in distress, she's a daredevil in disguise. She actually jumped off a 50-foot cliff into the water. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Talk about commitment to the role. And here's the kicker, she did it all without a single sparkle in sight. Now that's what I call a real-life superhero. Or should we say superheroine? Well, whatever you call it, it's certainly a surprise worthy of the number 1 spot. And there you have it, folks. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Well, that was a roller coaster ride through the Twilight Zone. Let's do a quick recap. We've had our minds blown by the dazzling disco ball-like vampires. We've discovered that Twilight, contrary to popular belief, is not a documentary on speedrunning. We've unraveled the Great Wig Dilemma, which is arguably more suspenseful than the entire movie plot. We've bitten into the deep, juicy symbolism of an apple. We've met the almost different cast, making us all question, what if? We've visited the Cullins House, which is less vampire lair and more modern architecture marvel. We've marveled at the unexpected hit, proving once again that teenage angst sells. We've spotted the author's cameo, the ultimate Where's Waldo challenge. We've watched the most intense baseball game ever, vampire style. And finally, we've been hit with a final surprise that left us all gasping for breath. Thanks for joining this Twilight tour. Remember, if you ever meet a sparkling vampire, ask them to be your disco ball. Until next time, folks.